This video is brought to you by DR Strings. Since 1989, DR Strings has been making handmade round core strings to satisfy the needs of some of the greatest guitar and bass players in the world. Listen and learn more at drstrings.com.
Hey everybody, this is Perry with Premier Guitar. We've been shooting the rig rundown now for nearly 10 years, and in that time we've seen some pretty odd guitars. Thought it'd be fun to put together a top 10 of the most unusual guitars that we've seen on the rig rundown. Enjoy.
Unbelievable.
There it is. You want to hold it?
Yeah, I'd love to. Wow, for you all watching at home, this is really heavy. This is like, you gotta be built like this guy to hold this thing. Wow, man. So the neck goes right through the body, right?
Yep.
And is that the graphite?
That's all graphite, yeah. The neck through is graphite. The truss rod's here. These sides come off. It's like a bolt-on body. What happens is there's pins here. These screws are going through them, 4 pins, and it comes off.
Wow.
I cut the sides off the Floyd Rose, and I made a plate for the bottom of it, and it's just a stop tailpiece now.
So you literally had to machine shop this and
Oh yeah.
Wow, man, that's too cool. What about that knob?
I made that too.
Wow.
Yeah, it's aluminum.
Are you considering doing a mass production of these?
There's a company called October making them.
Really?
But that's why I'm still using mine, because he ain't making them the way I want them, that's for sure.
Huh. And will they have the misfit logo?
No, those have bats on them.
Huh, very cool.
Yeah.
And this is called?
Annihilator.
Annihilator. Is the scale similar to your Iceman?
No, it's longer. It's 25 and a half.
Huh.
I think Iceman was 24 3/4. But
Man. Hey, we're in luck today. I got Thom Bresh with us. So, guitar legend, storyteller, wine lord.
The wine lord, yes. And lover of beef stroganoff as well, with my Bordeaux wine.
Yeah, right. So the last time I saw you, Thom, we were doing a Johnny Highland thing, and I had the misfortune of being on right after you and right before Brent Mason. So it was terrifying.
Oh God.
And Thom was, I had my beautiful girlfriend at the time there with me, and Thom was chatting her up the whole time, and she was ready to leave with Thom.
I'm innocent.
Yeah, you are. I mean, you're a charming guy. She couldn't help herself. Hey, let's talk about that guitar.
This guitar, yeah. This is, I call this a super dualette. It's made by Del Langejans of Holland, Michigan. Del's now retired, living somewhere in Florida, not making guitars anymore, which is a shame. I've got a number of his guitars. He made my first handmade guitar that was a cutaway nylon string, dolled out. I mean, it was something, and it still is.
Yeah.
And then he saw me on Austin City Limits playing Travis's Martin with the Bigsby neck.
Sure.
And he called me and said, "Hey, I want to make a dreadnought for you, because not a lot of people are into those funky sort of nylon string guitars, except the classical guys. Mine had 14 frets to the neck and all that, not 12 like the classical, and it's cutaway and all inlaid. So I said, no, I probably wouldn't play it. I said, if I want to play a steel string acoustic, I play Travis's. And about 2 months, 3 months later, a UPS guy comes up with a big box from Dell and it says, "Play it in good health." And I got the thing out, and God, it was gorgeous. It looked like the big brother to the nylon string. And I hated the neck. That's what I loved about Langejans guitars, these incredible necks like this. Both of these are just perfect to me.
Yeah.
And I hated that neck, but I used it for about, well, maybe a year and a half or 2 years.
Just played
through it. It was like a baseball bat.
Yeah.
It's just so big and round. And I play all these chords like that.
Well,
where
your thumb's over all the time.
Thumbs all of my, I won't do a G that way, I'll do it this way. Same notes, not one thing different, except it's like this. Now I can move behind the bar,
Right.
which you can't do if you're playing like this. So I had something go wrong with the pickup system in my nylon string Langejans. So I was going to be playing up in Michigan, so I brought the steel string and the Langejans, the gut string, up there. And I said to Dell, I said, "Here, you fix that." He was about 15 minutes. "How's that?" "Perfect, thanks." "Wow. That's all there is to it?" "Yeah." I said, he says, "Never said anything about the steel string. I'm surprised you like the neck." "Well, Dell, I really hate the neck. But I've been playing it, but I don't like it." "Well, I made it big and round because I knew you wouldn't like it, but I didn't know what you wanted. I figured first thing you would say, send it back to me and say, 'I want this taken off, this. And I never heard from him. I said, well, I've been playing it and cussing it the whole time. He says, "What do you want?" I said, "Well, it's just too fat and there's too much in here and in here." "You want a V-neck?" "No, I don't want a V-neck, but I want it so I can play all these chords." And he lays it down on his bench and puts some stuff on it and takes this big thing and goes, wood's coming off. I said, "I got to leave while you're doing it. I can't watch that." "Well, it's just wood." He says, "I do this all the time." You know? Well, I don't go through this all the time. So anyway, he comes about a half an hour later, he comes out and says, "Come try this guitar." I play. I said, "Whoa, can you take just a little more off right in through here and right in here, just a little bit?" "Yeah, Thom, okay, Thom." That's what he yelled. "Oh, okay, Thom." And he's doing that again. I went out and played more of his guitars out in the front lobby.
Yeah.
And he comes out and says, "Here, try this out." Oh, and it's still, a lot of people that have played said, that's got to be the finest neck on a steel string guitar I've ever felt, ever.
Wow.
I don't even know where to start, but why don't we start with that guitar, if you'd like to.
Yeah, I always start with this guitar.
All right.
I got this guitar. It wasn't exactly like this. It was unsold, unplayed, hanging in a window in a Colorado pawn shop that used to be a music store, I believe. Mm-hmm. This is how my memory works because it was 1976. It was called Wedgels, and I was attracted, like most people are, to sparkles, and I just looked at the sparkles, and it had a sign on it, $85, and I didn't have much money, and I walked by it 3 days in a row, and I thought, the sparkles are worth $85. So I bought it. I took it to the gig that night. We were playing up there, and it actually sounded good. It blew my mind. It's a really strange guitar. It's called, for the first 10 or 20 years of owning it, I thought it was called a Noble because that's what this insignia is.
Yes.
But Noble, it turns out, was an accordion importer, an Italian accordion importer, and they just stuck that on there. That's from their accordions. I've got a Noble accordion now. Someone has since given me. It's called a Wandre, and there's a book on Wandres that came out for a minute in Italian and English.
Oh,
you can get either version.
English as well. Okay, okay.
Yeah, and on the back here, what used to be really visible, I don't know if you can see it says "Made in our modern factory." There's a little sticker, and Wandre Pioli was the guy's name. Had a round building that served as his factory. I don't know how long he made these for. It's got an aluminum, I wouldn't call it a neck if it's down there, but it is aluminum underneath this plastic. It's got a fair bit of plastic on it.
Yeah, and this
which
seems almost like a Bakelite body.
Yeah, I don't know what this is. I do know it has a storage compartment should you need it while you're traveling.
That's handy. It might have been handier in the 70s.
Yeah, exactly. So it is aluminum under here, and then it gets to this other, it bolts together to another piece of aluminum that the pickups are then floating, 3 single coil pickups that float on top of. They don't touch anything, as you can see.
Yeah.
This aluminum bar, and this, check out the strings, the bridge. I don't know if you can see that or not, but if you break a string, when I was playing 6-hour nights,
Yeah.
playing in clubs 7 nights a week, 6 hours a night, I would break a string in the middle of a song, and I got really good. It's like threading a needle load. You see how that goes through this tiny little hole?
I do see that at the top.
Yeah.
Yep.
It makes no sense. The pickups on them were made by another Italian company called Doyle. This one's upside down and wired out of phase, which, back then, I think it's late 60s is when they were made. Oh, and I should put them next to each other because they
There we
look
go.
really pretty.
They do. They do.
So I got this one for $50. I offered him 50. It said 85. He said no problem. And I realized this is a good thing. So it took me a year to save up $250. I think there were 5 other ones there, and they still had every one of them.
Wow.
Yeah, a year later. He sold me 4. He said one of them's too high up on the wall and it's not worth $50 to get down. So I've got like 3.5 of these things. One's in the Country Music Hall of Fame, and these are the 2 I've got. The pickups I could demonstrate if you want me to.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
They're single coil. This can be, can do a country. And then this is a nice round. And then the trick is you get out of phase. So that's pretty cool.
That is.
And every combination in between. So it's got a lot of strange tonal, and these 2 are sort of placed physically out of phase. So you can get a kind of a stratish. So it's been good to me. And also the best thing that it's been to me is it keeps expectations really low when I walk in a room. It's gotten me gigs, I've come in to audition for somebody way back when, and you come in with something like this with no case, and people just go, oh God, let's just make this quick and get them out of here, and then you can only be better than their expectations when you walk in with something like this. So it's gotten me many a gig.
Now, the vibrato arm on that, was that something you had to fine tune to actually stay in tune and make it work?
No, man, I don't know how it works. I've taken this thing apart a few times. The spring in here runs this way. It's underneath.
So it's under that metal plate.
Yeah, it's under here running that way instead of up and down. Bigsby's have the spring that's vertical. This is a horizontal spring. It's been a while since I've taken it apart. I kind of get, and you notice there's some duct tape holding the bind. I flew it last week to play. The TSA, you gotta love this. The TSA took off some duct tape. Like, what are they looking for? It's just holding the binding on.
It's that secret compartment again.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's been good to me. It's a good guitar, and I've got it in black and white and a solid body. And I had to sell one when I needed money to get married. My friend Larry Campbell, who you probably know, Larry.
Right. Yes, we know.
He's got a red one of mine that belonged to me.
Well, you are pretty much single-handedly tagged with having started a bit of a Wandre revival.
No way.
Yeah.
They
People talk about those guitars and you, with reverence.
Well, if anybody, it's the only thing I can get music out of, really. That's not true. There's a few other things I can, but I've found that this is, what I do.
Well, that's
this
beautiful.
thing, and the free guitars, which I've gotten some, and I was all excited about because I was broke for all my life. But free stuff's not really, I'm stick with the stuff that I know.
I've been dying to talk to you about this very cool guitar.
Yeah.
Let's hear all about it.
Okay, so this is two-tone, And about 12 years ago, a friend and I built this guitar from scratch.
So, I mean, was your friend like a luthier who really knew his thing? Did you really know your luthier thing, or?
No, not at all.
Really?
I was
Yeah.
a total amateur, and I just had this idea that I wanted to have 5 guitars in one, so I wouldn't have to carry a bunch of guitars, which I do anyway.
You do anyway, but
I haven't changed my ways.
yeah.
But he had built a few guitars, and he maybe 4 or 5, and I'm like, that's good enough to build something
Sure.
cool. And I was inspired by Brian May building his guitar with his dad when he was 16.
Totally.
So it's basically 5 different guitars. I love the Firebird body shape and the reverse headstock, but it's pretty big on me, and I wanted to have 24 frets, so I squeezed that in there. These are my favorite colors, so I put them diagonally because I wanted to be a little different.
Yeah,
We've got
love it.
the Brian May pickups here, and the in and out of phase switches and pickup selectors.
Oh, that's great.
And then the Steinberger gearless tuners. And it's about 25 and a half scale length. It's not quite that, but it's pushed out. So literally the tune, I have to extend my arm all the way, which I've made a few changes since then to this design.
Yeah.
We've got the LSR roller nut. I play Ernie Ball 9-42, so it's pretty light tension. And then I call it two-tone because it's got 2 tone knobs, but this is a volume.
I thought two-tone was about the color, but yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, people think that, but you know, just being cheap, and I don't want to buy a volume.
Right.
They come in packs of 2, so.
Right, that's great.
Yeah,
okay, so
thank you.
Brian May pickups and the whammy bar, is that a...
Oh yeah, this is just a cheap Fender bridge.
God, that's
and,
great.
And it's Carina. I also have the Elich hum canceling backplate.
Oh.
So it silences most of the 60 cycle hum, which I like a lot.
Yeah.
And I have little things I sometimes talk about, little tributes. And when I got mad, instead of getting a tattoo, I tattooed my guitar.
Totally, that's a better idea.
So, you know, one
yeah.
less thing I'll regret later.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a minor regret. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, and then I used to have a little sustainiac thing when I was a lot younger, right in here. So that's what these holes are for, and I just say it's chambered now.
Yeah.
I've been afraid to cover it up.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you've been tweaking it this whole time.
Thank
Already,
you.
a friend of mine in Portland, Oregon, named Dan Bjork makes guitars under the name Lil Trees, and we met him years ago, and he gave me this probably 8 or 10 years ago, and I'd always had it around the house and used it for recording and stuff. But once this notion started to occur to me that I should try out some solid body guitars live, I took a more kind of refined look towards this guy and realized, like, right away at that point, I just totally fell in love with it, which was cool because, like really truly, like I really fell in love with it to the extent that I know a lot of guitar players and musicians experience. When you find a piece of gear that does speak to you, it sort of changes your ideas of yourself and the music you're playing and the way you play, and it just kind of unfolds from there, you know? And that happened to me with this, but the interesting part is that I had already had it for nearly 10 years, I think.
It's kind of like the love, the rekindling of a new instrument, much in the way you spoke about the Silvertone when you got that.
Yeah.
How that changed how you almost played and what you played.
That's all I'm always looking for with gear. Yeah, for sure. That direct kind of connection to it. And that occurred here, and so I've been playing it live, and I love it, and it really feels and sounds great, and it's very simple, and it's got kind of a unique feature where it's like volume, treble, and bass.
Okay.
Which I never had a guitar with like an actual separate treble and bass knobs, but it does enable a lot of really interesting stuff, and it kind of showed me how, like, when you're in like a super fuzz mode, kind of like lead, and you start rolling down low end just a little bit, and it cleans up a lot. So it kind of operates like I can just leave the fuzz on, roll the bass down, and bring it in when I want it to like rip out a little more.
Yeah.
Which suits me because despite what I've been doing on this tour, for a while now I've been trying to figure out how to have the fewest amount of pedals. And
is that more of a challenge, or what provoked that?
Well, I feel like on the one hand, it's like it makes sense. Like honestly, like I don't want to get involved in a lot of pedal type thinking. And there's so much sound in this band already that it just feels like kind of over spicing your dinner or something.
Yeah.
You know, it's like. Plus, like, just again coming back to like your concept of what you're doing, I'm much more inspired by the idea of a smaller palette of sound and a wider palette of expression and usage of how you play it,
Yeah.
whether it be minute,
Yeah.
you know, it's like there's a lot of pedals built into your hands and guitars, as many people know, and so I've
Yeah.
been sort of chasing that type of relationship with live shows for a while. Although with this tour, I was kind of on a whole other tip with all those Strymons and stuff. And
We'll get into that in just a minute, but do you use those knobs a lot throughout the set?
yeah,
the bass and
especially
treble?
the bass,
Okay.
the bass knob. Because like I said, and it was like informative of, it just kind of changed the paradigm around the way I think of a fuzz pedal, because it was just interesting to see that by removing not volume but just low end from the signal, how much the pedals cleaned up.
Yeah.
And then I just had to take another look at all my fuzz pedals and see what they were like now as more like low gain type
Yeah.
stuff once I brought bass down. But like I said, this guitar enabled that because I can roll the bass down without losing treble.
Gotcha. The second guitar we're talking about here, quick, I'll grab it.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Since you're strapped up, is you know, it feels light, so it may be semi, or is it true hollow?
I think it's true hollow, yeah. It's a Hopf, Hopf, and it's like, I got it in New Orleans.
Yeah, let's just.
And I think Hopf is like a violin maker, which kind of makes sense because it's got that like contoured
Yep.
violin-like body almost, and it's really light. And I loved it without plugging it in.
A real jazz box sound. It's real lively.
Yeah, real rhythmic. And so the body has like a nice resonance to it, even without amplifying it. And I thought it looked so sick, the
Yeah,
Saturn
it's beautiful.
63. So I got it, and then it needed a little bit of work. And so I passed it off to this guy we met in Jersey a while ago, named Pete Brown, I believe his name. He's got like a guitar company called Laudo, I think.
Okay.
And he's a real genius when it comes to tinkering around with stuff. And he did this move that really sealed the deal for me, where in its original state, instead of having a tone knob, it had these 5 tone presets, like a
Okay.
treble cut, treble boost, bass cut, treble boost, bass cut.
Kind of like the Variotone.
Oh,
like
is that
the
right?
Gibson, yeah. Well, the Gibson has a seven switch, but yeah, like that.
He just kind of used that selector pot to redefine the way it was all working. So now, if you're here, it's just like both pickups on out of phase, I'm pretty sure. If you're here, it's both pickups on in phase, and then if you're here, it's back to its original pickup selector. So you can do the both or in the middle. And in that setting, it just creates like such a wide array of like, the reason why I thought that maybe, I'm not really one to change guitars during a show or anything, but because of that world of like how diverse that is, it's like real nice and fat there, but you get those like little skanking kind of parts.
Yeah.
And then really, you know, it's got just a nice array. And then if you have a fuzz pedal on and you're going between the two as well, it opens up a whole other spectrum of sound. So
Can we hear that quick?
I thought, oh sure, yeah. I thought it'd be
Might as
fun
well,
to bring
you-
it. That's on the thin side, and then
It's me.
sweet one, yeah. Yeah. I've been using it to record a lot, and so I just wanted to see if it could hang in the live situation.
So far, so good?
So far, so good, yeah.
Whoa, very cool. Hey, it's John Bolger with Premier Guitar. We're in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm with Jared Mattson of Mattson 2. Jared, thanks so much for joining us,
Good to be
man.
here, bro.
Yeah,
man.
Good to see you. Okay, let's start with this crazy guitar. Tell me all about it.
This hails from Japan, and
Cool.
I found it on eBay. It's a brand called Telestar, which Eastwood is starting to reissue, strangely enough.
Oh,
but I've
cool.
been using this thing for like 10 years. And
Any idea what year this was made?
this is, as far as I know, it's a 1959, which sounds kind of crazy that they're making these in 59, but
Right.
yeah. And so they only made guitars from, I think, 57 to 59, and then they switched to making phone parts.
Oh,
So
really?
the guitar industry didn't quite work out for them.
Sure. I can see why.
Too bizarre, man.
Yeah.
But for a band like us, Mattson too, that uses looping, it's perfect because you do the bass line, use the guitar.
Yeah, you're a master of that. That is so
thanks,
cool
man.
to watch you build that loop right here.
Right
okay,
on.
so what modifications have you made to this?
So I got these Seymour Duncan mini humbuckers. I got the guitar version and I got the bass version. My friend Pat Jones and his wife Laura were the ones who customized the guitar.
Okay.
And these were the original pickups back here, just total garbage pickups. This one doesn't even, there's no sound.
Yeah.
So this is just for show, it's broken.
Yeah.
And then we just customized the pick guard. Originally we had little pick guards right here and right here where you see the holes are at. And then we just got the neck set up.
Did that take quite a bit of work to make it like a playable instrument?
It did. When I played it, when I first bought it, I was basically playing it because it was functional.
Yeah.
Because it performed a function, but not because it sounded good.
Yeah.
Now I think it sounds really good.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Yeah.
So when you first, do you remember what you paid for it back when
I think I paid like $900 or something.
Yeah.
A little higher than maybe I should have paid, but
yeah, for a non-working guitar.
Yeah.
A little higher than you want to play for a non-working guitar, but well, it's great. I mean, you roll the dice, and it's become like this huge part of your whole sound.
It is. It's very much important to the sound.
Yeah. What strings are you running on it?
These ones I'm just doing regular Ernie Ball slinkies.
Okay.
And then these are the Ernie Ball flat ones, and I use like a 10 gauge because when you go too high with this thing, it doesn't have a lot of sustain, and it doesn't pick up a lot of the nuances that the pedals are giving it. So I used to play with 11s and 12s, but I noticed that this guitar handles best with 10s.
Yeah, okay.
So I go for that.
Yeah, the next one here is, of course, my signature shovel guitar, and this one is, it's funny because I've sold so many of these, built so many of them, and after, I did a kind of performance in my backyard with one.
Right, and that's, I think everybody's seen that.
It got like crazy, it's funny because it was just like off the cuff, that video, and just making it up on my back porch, and it got like 40 million views on Facebook alone after like a month or so, but we got so many requests for people wanting shovel guitars that I started building them, and never knew I was going to be like a shovel guitar builder or anything like that, but I love it, and it's stuff like this too. I'll get into some of the homemade instruments that I play a lot of and build, but it's just the art of it and learning like the essence of what a guitar is. What it has to have to be good, and what it doesn't have to have to be good. And also how to play just strings and how to kind of make up your own rules. And I think that's what's beautiful about something like this. But get into the story, I've actually never owned my own. Like I would end up making a living on the road. I'd sell the ones I had on the road at my last gig or something and go back home and build more. And so I never actually had one that was like mine that I played all the time. And so this one I decided I'm gonna keep one finally. And I was contacted on, I think, Instagram or something by this artist in Greece who's a tattoo artist named Achilles, and he wanted to paint a shovel for me, and so
great.
I sent this to him. It was a nightmare getting it there with customs because they're like, "What is this thing?" You know what I mean? Like, is it? And so, but yeah, he did an amazing job. And then there was another company, funny, like contacted me on Instagram who wanted to build me a custom strap, and we were like, "Well, can you match this guitar?" And so that's Le Rockskin Straps in France. Built this like all leather strap. They even got the pickup on it. Look at that.
Oh, that's so cool.
So that it's like an optical illusion now. But
okay, yeah, let's hear this.
Yeah.
Let's hear this thing.
So it's got 3 strings. It's got a volume pedal. It's got a custom pickup that I helped design, and a volume knob. And so basically it's like a power chord, a root 5th root, generally like an open G tuning. And like tempered steel sustains forever, which is nice too.
Right. sings.
It does. It's great.
So how did it happen? How did you decide to do this the first time?
Well, at the time, it was when my wife, Nikki, and I were living on the road full time, and a lot of what I played were homemade instruments, and I started playing a few, and eventually people started coming out to shows and just bringing me stuff they built in their garage, and I'd play it on stage, like pretty much no matter what it was. I would if someone brought something they built, I would play it on stage.
Fearless.
And
I bet there was some bad experience,
Well, it's like you got to learn how to one-string instruments with really hot piezo pickups.
Yeah.
It's like you got to kind of come up with something
right.
and make it entertaining. But that's what a lot of those my early blues heroes did.
Sure.
With homemade like Bo Diddley with these crazy instruments he built and just the tradition of it. And I think that's kind of what slide guitar is about too. Is you don't need frets. You need ideally if you don't even have fret markers, and you don't need them if you can listen to it, and learning to play like that. I think trial by fire with all of these people coming out and bringing these instruments. Had to learn how to come up with tunings on the fly for different instruments. Run things through an amp and amplify it without crazy feedback and different things like that. And no one ever grounded their instruments, and so luckily, with wireless systems, I realized you never have to ground an instrument if you're going wireless, and so that wasn't an issue. But a guy named Roger Berry brought out a shovel guitar that he built, and that was the one I played in that original video. And so he gave that guitar to me after that show. I was playing, I think, at the Juke Joint Festival in Clarksdale, Mississippi, when he brought that one out to me. And and it's happened with a few different instruments and a few different people who've done that, where I'll play something, put out a video, and they'll thank me later, and it's like with the ammo can guitar, just getting a lot of people turned on to a cool new idea and a cool new design and a new way to look at guitars, and again, it's like minimalist art too, and it's
I love
just beautiful.
It's like have you seen the movie This Might Get Loud with?
Oh yeah, definitely.
That first scene where Jack White just, he nails a couple strings to a board, and it sounds like Jack White.
That's all you need, And if you can make music with that, when you pick up a guitar, it's a lot easier. When you break a string, you just play on one. You play on the one that's in tune, then, or you learn how to think on the fly like that, and you also learn how to play up and down the fretboard instead of in patterns, and you stop thinking about patterns as much,
Wow. Yeah, that's an interesting thought on particularly on slide guitar, like that really singing voice. I think that's kind of where that came out of.
Oh yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Absolutely, and all those patterns on the scales, they start making more sense. It's kind of like, I think with piano, you think linearly, and that's why a lot of, when you learn music theory, you have to learn piano because you can see it in a straight line. And on guitar, I think what's easy about it is you can be visual about it and have these patterns, and you change from A to B. All you have to do is move the pattern up a whole step. But you might not be thinking about intervals as much, or about the scales and the way they repeat, because you're thinking about them as six string patterns.
Right. It tends to be. It's almost like a cut and paste thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas just
like paint by numbers or something.
Right. Whereas with that, you're just like whatever the melody the melody goes where it goes.
Yeah. In a different way, totally. And then when you go back to six string, it's like I'm tuning this string down, and like I want this string here and this string here, and you start just thinking about it like six strings or like six instruments, and they each sound different. Yeah. And you just make them all do what you want for whatever song, and that's how I approach like solo guitar arrangements a lot. Is I think I think of the bass strings as like a male singer, and the unwound strings as sort of like a female singer, and so when you're playing and arranging, you can have like a duets, you can have different call and response parts, and you start to learn the sound of each string in a different way.
That's a really cool way to look at it. That's great, man. Okay, we got to see. That's gonna be a tough one to break. Well, we were working on puns before this. I was thinking, really dig that tone, and Justin said,
groundbreaking. That was my favorite one. Yeah, can't beat it.
Hey, and what is this weirdo over here?
Man, this guy from Brooklyn. It's a Carbonetti. And he made this for me, and this thing sounds great. It's actually a cedar top.
Wow.
And single Filtertron, which is also an Arcane.
Great.
And man,
I bet it's very
looks
alive.
Great. It is.
Yeah.
It's very cool sounding.
Yeah, with that cedar top.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
This is a Harvester from Melbourne, Australia.
Wow.
He makes guitars, this guy Anthony Payne makes guitars based on Wandre's, an Italian, 60s Italian designer.
Wow.
They've got metal necks, and there's an aluminum piece that runs all the way through to here. You can see it right there.
Wow.
So the strings are, so it's got quite a bit of sustain.
Wow. Do you have that in standard tuning?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
What is this big thing right there?
That's the volume.
Oh, great. Great. And
that was
tone, I guess?
A little tone, yeah, and then the pickup selectors. We used to have these really cool push button on when it was originally made, but if you bumped them, they'd pop out.
Yeah.
And so I just turned the guitar off. And
that's
as
pretty
cool
jarring.
as it looked,
Yeah.
it was really frustrating.
Yeah.
Because, just...
Yeah, it's so disorienting when you're playing and it just stops. Yeah.
Because I don't ever think it's the guitar. I think it's that.
Yeah.
Which it usually is.
Yeah. That's great, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and okay, and this is standard tuning, you said?
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, and 0 fret, that's cool. Mm-hmm. Does that metal neck feel weird, like particularly in like a cold...
Yeah.
Cold
when it's cold, it feels a little odd. It's surprisingly comfortable. I really, when I looked at it originally, I was like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But it just feels right.
Were you in Australia when you discovered this, or were you...
It's another internet thing.
Huh.
And I just started a conversation with him, and I just bit the bullet.
How cool.
Yeah.
That's great.
This is a Hofner 176, and it's I've got quite a few of these.
They call it Galaxy?
They don't.
They don't?
The people call it a Galaxy, but the Galaxies have got these staple pickups, and they made these are called shark fins or blades.
Those are cool.
And they're just the greatest pickups I've ever heard. So I just buy any guitar with these pickups on. I buy them, and
there's a lot of different models of the Hofner.
Yeah.
This style, right?
Yeah, so this is called a 176 in this style. And it's got all these weird little, it's got this tremolo bass thing. There's just so many songs you can get from this guitar. We had this one thing where I just go like this and go. Just going through it like that.
Sounds like a bass.
It's a bit knackered, this.
What do you like about those pickups, though?
They look like, they sort of advertise them as humbuckers, but they're not. They're single coils, and I know people like that sort of fat, meaty sound, but I like really clear, clean sound that's just loud.
Yeah.
It's kind of distorting because it's so loud. And these are just so clean, They're so loud. If you were to put another guitar in now, the pickups are always the output is so much less on other guitars.
Right.
So I buy all these, and then I kind of get I bought a Galaxy and had those.
So it has the Bigsby on it already?
No.
No, you put that on there.
I put Bigsby's on them because, I had this accident with my hand, right?
Yes.
Where I don't use it anymore. I don't use this finger.
For those who don't know, you shut your hand.
Yeah,
in
I got
car.
a cortisone injection in my knuckles and I'd broken my finger, and so it kind of just went crazy.
How many surgeries did you have?
6. And so they opened it up from there to there for the 5 of them, and then from there to there I've got more up here. And but I can't really move it. I can do that with it, but I just learned to play without it. So why I put Bigsby's on is just it really helps because it's so much work with my fingers.
So that's a new thing. You didn't have a Bigsby before.
I put Bigsby's on everything now,
Awesome.
just so that it's because I can't
bend so much.
Right.
I'm trying to sort of compensate. Everything I'm doing is trying to compensate for my lack of this finger.
So you play totally different now.
Yeah.
Do you find?
I mean, I play a lot more kind of like, you know, like I've always sort of picked things and pinched them, but I sort of do it a lot more now. You know, I like. I don't know what tuning I'm in. You know, like I use my thumb just going up and down and just like 1 or 2 fingers. That one just hangs out.
But is this your newest of this?
Yeah,
model?
I got this. I bought this. This was a Galaxy with staple pickups in, and then I bought a scrap 176 that wasn't in very good condition. Took the pickups out.
So you put the shark fin?
Put the shark fins in this, and put a Bigsby on it. And
That's really cool. It's got a lot
yeah, I know. It just looks amazing. It's got a really chunky neck, so it's kind of like a lot more solid.
So what
meaty.
about these tone? They're just different.
Yeah, I mean, I just use this pickup and that pickup.
Okay.
Occasionally, you know, because.
But you can do a lot of combinations.
So, yeah, I mean, you can go through all these different. Yeah, you get so much low end on.